Next, cell theory. Okay, as we are saying that cell is performing all the functions related to a living organism. So here two scientists are there. One is an German botanist and other is a German zoologist. So Schleiden and Theodor Schwann. So he is a German botanist and German geologist. In 1838, these two scientists independently studied about the cell and its activities. So here Schleiden had studied the cells of plants and he studied the cells of animals. And they come to say that the cell is the one which is concerned with performing each and every activity of the living organism, and Theodor Schwann has said that the animal cell lack cell wall, and that is the only difference between the animal cell and the plant cell. And here he said that the plant cell contains cell wall which is surrounded with the outermost limit called a cell wall. So that is the only difference between the animal cell and the plant cell. Remaining characters are same according to Schwann scientist. And Schwann has said that the animal cell is surrounded by plasma membrane. So cell membrane or plasma membrane was first discovered by Theodor Schwann scientist. And what was the formulation or what was the concept or theory that was derived by the scientists is, so according to the studies that have been conducted by these two group of scientists independently, they said that cell is the structural unit of life and cell is the functional unit of life or structural unit of living organism and the functional unit of living organism. That means whatever the structure acquired by a living organism or a life containing system, or whatever the functions related to a living organism or a life containing system, that is because of cells. But they haven't given the concept of how these cells have been formed, or we can say that cell is and living organism contains cell and its derivatives. Cell and its derivatives are the products of the cell. So that was a concept given, that is a living organism or any organism which is having the cell and their products of the cell, that is called as a cell theory. But this was a little bit modified by one other scientist called as Rudolf Virchow. So according to the scientist, omnis cellula e cellula. So according to this word, so the new cells arise from pre-existing cells by a process of cell division. That is the concept of cell division was first given by Rudolf Virchow. That is, a cell is dividing to form the daughter cells or for giving rise to new group of cells. That concept was given for the first time by Rudolf Virchow scientist, and according to him, the new cells are arising from the pre-existing, that is the parent cell. So from the parent cell the new cells are forming by the division. That concept is considered in the omnis cellula e cellula. And according to this, so when the cell is dividing, not only the cell, that is cytoplasm or the protoplasm, the chromosomes are also being divided and transferred to the next generation. From the parent cell, not only the cytoplasmic contents but also the genetical constituents are also being transferred to the daughter generation. So this type of elaboration of the concept of cell theory was given by Rudolf Virchow, and this concept is called as cell doctrine or cell lineage theory. So it is nothing but a little bit modified concept of cell theory. So what is our final output or final result after Rudolf Virchow is according to cell theory, the living organism is made up of a cell and its cell products, and new cells will arise from the pre-existing cells by a process of cell division. So this is what the concept related to cell theory that was given by the first group of scientists Leiden and Swan, and later modified by Rudolf Virchow scientist. Okay, cell and the characters of the cell, or the variation that we find in the characters of a cell. So if you take a cell, so here it will be having a lot of variation in the size, structure, shape also, depending upon the position inside the organism or depending upon the type of living organism in which it is present. So let us take some examples, like as we have seen that there are some unicellular organisms or there are some multicellular organisms. So that variation here where if you take the shapes of the cell, so there is a lot of variation. They may be linear, they may be like cylindrical in their shape, ovoid, spherical, cuboid, columnar, irregular, biconcave, like different shapes can be observed in the cells. So let us take the tracheids in the plants. So these are elongated like this with a broad middle region and tapering ends on both the sides. The thick cell wall is present, and on the thick cell wall we can see the presence of pits also. So this is one type of shape of the cells, and we can see the cells with a columnar shape. So here in animals we can see epithelial tissue in the columnar shape, and in the same way the palisade parenchyma in the plants which are columnar in their shape like this. So this is the chloroplasts which are near to the cell wall, columnar shape in the palisade parenchyma, and there are some cells which are irregular in their shape, like in the spongy parenchyma, like there is no particular shape related to the cells. Like then if you see the RBCs, so these are biconcave, on both the sides they have the concave shape like this, or sometimes they may be spherical also or round shape also like this. Biconcave or spherical or round shaped structures. And if you take the WBCs, they are also amoeboid in their shape. Amoeboid means, as we know, amoeba shape like which does not have any specific shape. So this type of change can be seen in the structure here like this. And if you take so the nerve cell, which is considered the longest one, which contains branched structures with elongated nature like this. With a nucleus in the center. So likewise, if you see the structure, there is a lot of variation, and if you see the parenchyma cells, those are ovoid in their shape. Normal parenchyma present in the cortex, they are generally ovoid or spherical like this. So likewise, we can find a lot of variation in the shapes of the cells. There is a lot of variation in the shapes of the cells. If you see the size of the cells, okay, there are cells are microscopic in their nature. So from the smallest or microscopic cell to the largest one, so we know that mycoplasmas are the one which are considered to be the smallest one, so which are having 0.1 to 0.2 micrometers in their measurement, and whereas viruses are also, of course the viruses are also the smallest one, but these are acellular in their nature. But when it comes to bacteria, the typical measurement of the bacteria is from 3 to 5 micrometers, whereas the RBCs in the human beings, it is of nearly 7 micrometers in their diameter. So likewise, there is a lot of variation can be observed in the size of the cells. Then ostrich egg, which is considered to be the largest one in the size, which is measuring about 170 into 120 centimeters in its measurement. Then the longest one, okay, if you come to the length of this cells, length of the cells here, in the plants also we can see the variation here. If you take the internodal cell of Chara is an marine algae, so in which the size of the cell will be 1 to 10 centimeters. Then Acetabularia, a unicellular algae, which is also having the measurement of 10 centimeters. So likewise, the cotton fibers, which are nearly up to 4 centimeters in their length, and rami fibers, which are of nearly 55 centimeters in their length. Then hemp fibers, approximately they will be up to 90 centimeters. Likewise, there is a lot of variation in the sizes of the cells also based on their activities or the other aspects. We know that the cells are concerned with metabolic functions. It is not like all the cells present in a plant body or animal body will have the same proportion of the metabolic activities. So here that metabolic activities nature or proportion will be depending upon the nucleocytoplasmic proportion or nucleocytoplasmic ratio and the surface volume ratio. Actually, wherever the cells with the highest more rate of nucleocytoplasmic ratio, so those cells are considered as metabolically active. Generally, the smaller cells will have more nucleocytoplasmic ratio because those cells are highly active in their nature. And when the surface volume ratio is increasing, so the proportion of the activity will be decreasing. And here when the cells which are having highest more nucleocytoplasmic ratio, so here two characters have to be considered related to the cell, that is proportion of nucleocytoplasm, that is nucleocytoplasmic proportion, and the surface volume ratio. So metabolically active cells contain high nucleocytoplasmic ratio. So nucleocytoplasmic ratio is concerned with the metabolic activities or the chromosomal activities of the cell, whereas the surface volume ratio is concerned with the transfer of chemicals from one cell to the another cell. So here these are also being concerned with the other activities of the cell, like metabolism or availability of oxygen and whatever the waste material which are present inside the cell, the exit or how the pathway or the method or the activity by which they are getting rid of the waste materials. Likewise, all these are concerned with the nucleocytoplasmic ratio and the surface volume ratio of a cell.